Dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on behalf of the European Commission, I would like to express my apologies and my regrets for not being able to be among you today. I thank you for accepting this video message instead of my participation in person. The initiative to hold this national forum is an evidence of the importance we hold, civil society, local authorities, the government, and the European Commission attached to the difficult situation of the Roma minority in Bulgaria. I would like to congratulate Amalipe for this timely initiative at the beginning of the EU Fund's new programming period, and to congratulate and thank Minister Kalfin for his patronage of this event and his commitment to support the Roma inclusion process. Roma, as nationals of EU member states, are EU citizens and not second-class ones. Therefore, the European institutions and member states have a joint responsibility to improve their social and economic inclusion by using all instruments and policies for which they have the competence. In recent years, the situation of Roma has increasingly become the center of political attention in Europe. They are Europe's largest minority at about 10 to 12 million people, and they are very often victims of racism, discrimination, and social exclusion. Better integration of Roma has therefore to be seen as a basic human right, but it is also an economic imperative. In 2011, EU leaders committed themselves to the EU framework for national Roma integration strategies, under which all member states, including Bulgaria, have prepared their own Roma integration strategy up to 2020. The aim of the EU framework is to urge member states to make a tangible difference to Roma people's lives by bringing about a change in the approach to their inclusion. Member states have the primary responsibility and they have the competencies to change the situation of their Roma minorities. The European Commission closely follows the implementation of Roma-related measures and thoroughly assesses and reports annually to the European Parliament and to the Council on the national strategies for Roma integration. The EU framework raises Roma inclusion at EU level for the first time and clearly links it with the Europe 2020 strategy. 3 out of 5 Europe 2020 headline targets are directly linked to the EU framework targets on Roma inclusion, and they are the fight against poverty and social exclusion, the employment and the education targets. For a number of member states, among which Bulgaria, making sufficient progress towards Europe 2020, employment, social inclusion and education targets will require addressing explicitly and swiftly the situation of Roma by both inclusive mainstream policies and by specific targeted actions. The country-specific recommendations addressed to the member states in the framework of the European semester are a tool to put the necessary pressure on the national institutions to adequately tackle the most acute challenges. EU structural funds can be an even more powerful tool to improve the socio-economic situation of disadvantaged Roma. By the way, Bulgaria has allocated nearly 30% of the European Social Fund allocation to social inclusion, fight against poverty, and discrimination. We all need to show that full inclusion of Roma and other underprivileged communities is not only beneficial to them, but will also have a positive impact on society as a whole, on the economy, and more widely on people's lives across the Union. We consider important to be able to draw conclusions and to agree on certain principles, on solutions to further improve the implementation of 2014-2020 EU-funded measures for Roma integration, drawing on the lessons from the implementation of the integrated ERDF, ESF projects so far, on a partnership approach to adequately address Roma coordination. And this implies coordination between policies and funding, coordination between different players. We have today government representatives, representatives from civil society, and the players which are active at the local level, coordination across sectors, education, employment, healthcare, housing, anti-discrimination have to be addressed together. This is a key lesson to draw from the past experiences in Bulgaria. Finally, also coordination between financial tools, between the various EU funds, as well as with other funding mechanisms and financial tools. Ensuring such coordination is possible only through working together in a constructive and productive partnership, public authorities and civil society. Further and more consolidated efforts are then needed, in particular at local level where Roma and non-Roma live together. A good step forward has been made with the translation of the Strategic National Policy Framework on Roma integration into local action plans. Now it is the time to see the implementation of these plans and make the difference on the ground. As all of you know, working in the field, nothing changes overnight. It will take time before we see real change on the ground, but we must not be discouraged. Let me also emphasize that this is a two-way process. Roma and the other underprivileged communities also need to commit themselves to participate proactively in this process of change. We see three significant challenges for many member states, including Bulgaria, that absolutely need to be addressed. First, to fight discrimination and stereotypes on Roma by strong and systematic measures. Second, by implementing integrated approach, which means that all interventions in education, employment, health and housing are interlinked and simultaneously taken for the same population instead of being fragmented. And third, securing these measures by adequate and sustainable funding. To this end, today's event will be a good opportunity to discuss the way forward in assuring complementarity of funding, national, EU, and other funding sources like the Swiss and Norwegian financial mechanisms for successfully implementing the Bulgarian strategy for Roma integration. Let me conclude by emphasizing that the political will and commitment from the highest level is essential in advancing with the Roma inclusion process. Consequently, I would like to acknowledge the strong and continuous efforts of Ministers Donchev and Kalfin to streamline the implementation of EU funds in Bulgaria towards a better targeting of Roma integration issues. I wish you all a very fruitful and open discussion, and I look forward to your feedback and conclusions of the event. Thank you all for your attention.